Hari. Jaya Gopi Jana Bala Bhagiri Bhara Dhari. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Bhana Chari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Bala Giri Bharadhari. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Bana Chari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotara Shatashi Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shishiguru and Shiguranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, General History. Chapter 7, Lord Krishna instructs Uddhava. Text number 6. Tvantu sarvan parityajya snehan swajana bandhusu Madhyaveshya manashamyak samadrik bicharashwadam tvantu sarvam parityajya snehan swajana bandhusu Madhyaveshya manasamyak Samadrik bicharashvagam Tvam tu sarvam parityaya Sneham swajana bandhushu Madhyaveshya manasamyak samadrik bicharashvagam. Please chant. Tvam, you, tu, in fact, sarvam, all, parityaya, giving up, sneham, affection, swajana bandhusu, for your relative and friends, mai, in me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, aveshya, fixing, manaha, your mind, samyak, completely, samadrik, seeing everything with equal vision, bicharashva, wonder, gam, throughout the earth. Translation and purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Now, you should completely give up all attachment to your personal friends and relatives and fix your mind on me. Thus, being always conscious of me, you should observe all things with equal vision and wander throughout the earth. Purport. Srimad Virara Gava Acharya has explained the concept of equal vision as follows. Samadrik sarvasya Brahmatmaka tvanushandana rupa samadrishtimam. Quote, one who is on the path of self-realization should always endeavor to see the ultimate spiritual nature of all existence. End of quote. The word mayi in this verse means paramatmani. One should fix one's mind on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the source of everything. Thus, as one passes one's life on the earth, using up one's allotted time, one should practice seeing all things and all people as part and parcel of the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead. Since all living entities are part and parcel of Krishna, ultimately they all have the same spiritual status. The material nature, also being an emanation of Krishna, has a similar spiritual status. But although matter and spirit are both emanation from the personality of Godhead, they do not exist exactly on the same level. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the spirit soul is the superior energy of the Lord, whereas the material nature is his inferior energy. However, since the Lord is equally present in all things, the word samadrik in this verse indicates that one must ultimately see Krishna within everything and everything within Krishna. Thus, equal vision is compatible with mature knowledge of the varieties present within this world. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments as follows on this verse, quote, "At the end of his manifest pastimes on the earth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, though thought as follow within his mind, during my pastimes on the earth, I have satisfied the desires of all those devotees who anxiously desire to see me. I have duly married many thousands of queens, headed by Rukmini, whom I personally kidnapped, and I have killed innumerable demons in various places and by various means. I have attended meetings, reunions, and ceremonies with many friends, relatives, and well-wishers in cities such as Vrindavan, Mathura, Dwarka, Hastinapura, and Mithila. And thus I have kept constantly busy, coming and going in the performance of pastimes. I further arranged to give my personal association to great devotees who are situated below the earthly planet, in order to please my mother Devaki and return her 6 deceased sons who were killed by Kamsa. I descended to the planet Sutala and blessed my great devotee Bali Maharaj. In order to return the dead son of my spiritual master Sandipani Muni, I personally went to the court of Ravinandana, sorry. I went to the court of Ravinandana, or Yamaraj, and thus he was able to see me face to face. I even blessed the residents of heaven, such as Mother Aditi and Kasyapa Muni, with my personal association when I travel there to steal the Parijata flower for my wife Satyabhama. And in order to please the inhabitants of Mahavishnu's abode, such as Nanda, Sunanda, and Sudarshana, I travel to Mahavaikuntha to recover the deceased children of a frustrated Brahmana. Those innumerable devotees who ardently desire to see me have received the object of their prayers. Unfortunately, Nara Narayana Rishi and the great Paramahamsa sages who live with him in Badrikana Ashram, although most enthusiastic to see me, never had their desire fulfilled. I have been on the earth for 125 years, and the scheduled time is now up. Being busily engaged in my pastimes, I did not have the time to give my blessings to these great sages. Nevertheless, Uddhava is practically the same as me. He is a great devotee and shares my own transcendental opulences. Thus, he is the right person for me to send to Badrikar Ashram. I should give Uddhava complete transcendental knowledge by which one becomes detached from the material world, and he in turn can deliver this knowledge, the science of transcending the kingdom of illusion, to the worthy sages at Badrikar Ashram. In this way, he can teach them the method of rendering loving devotional service to my lotus feet. Such loving devotional service rendered to me is the most valuable treasure, and by hearing such knowledge, the desire of the great sages such as Narad Narayana will be completely fulfilled. Those great sages who have surrendered unto me are always equipped with transcendental knowledge and detachment from the material world. Sometimes, being busy in their devotional service, they may appear to forget me. However, a pure devotee who has achieved the platform of love for me will always be protected by such sincere devotion. Even if such devotee should suddenly give up his life while neglecting to fix his mind intensely on me, such a devotee's loving feelings are so powerful that they afford him all protection. Even if there is a temporary moment of forgetfulness, such devotion will bring the devotees to my lotus feet, which are beyond the vision of ordinary materialistic persons. Uddhava is my pure devotee. Knowledge of me and detachment from this world have again been aroused in him because he can never give up my association. End of quote. The sincere servants of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are vigorously endeavoring to spread this Krishna conscious movement for the pleasure of their spiritual master and Lord Krishna. At the present time, thousands of devotees in the Krishna consciousness movement in all parts of the world are working long hours under difficult conditions to distribute transcendental literature and thus enlighten the general populace. In this effort, the devotees have no personal motivation, but are simply desirous of pleasing their spiritual master by distributing his books. The people who receive this literature usually have no previous experience of Krishna consciousness, yet they are so impressed by the purity of the devotees they meet that they eagerly purchase the books and magazines. In order to execute the tremendous task of spreading Krishna consciousness, the devotees are tirelessly laboring day and night because they are on the platform of loving devotion. Although superficially such busy devotees may occasionally not think directly of the lotus feet of Krishna, such loving devotion will undoubtedly take them back to Krishna's lotus feet. And being pleased by their service, the Lord Himself will again arouse their unflinching meditation upon His personal form. This is the beauty of Bhakti Yoga, which depends wholly and solely on the mercy of the all-merciful personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. This is the only totally safe means of uprooting the deep desires for material enjoyment, obtaining pure love for Krishna, and going beyond the material universe to the kingdom of God, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 2:40. Neha vikramana sosti pratyavayo navidyate swalpanapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhajat. Lord Krishna also advises Uddhava in this verse to give up the illusory attachment to so-called friends and family within the material world. One may not be able to physically give up the association with family and friends, but one should understand that everyone and everything is part and parcel of God and is meant for the pleasure of God. As soon as one thinks, this is my personal family, immediately one will see the material world as no more than a place for enjoying family life. As soon as one is attached to one's so-called family, false prestige and material possessiveness arise. Actually, everyone is part and parcel of God, and therefore on the spiritual platform related to all other entities. This is called Krishna Sambandha, or the constitutional relationship with Krishna. It is not possible to advance to the highest stage of spiritual awareness and at the same time maintain a petty material concept of society, friendship, and love. One should experience all relationships on the higher spiritual platform of Krishna Sambandha, which means seeing everything in relationship to Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead. One who is situated in his constitutional relationship with Krishna can see all things in relation to Krishna. He does give up the mundane urges of the body, mind, and speech, and travels throughout the earth as the devotee of the Lord. Such a highly elevated personality is called Goswami, or the masters of the senses. This stage is described in Bhagavad Gita 18:54 by the words Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma. On the spiritual platform, one obtains complete satisfaction. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Ummilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurube Namaha. Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Ramapada Swami Niti Namine. Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Quite a wonderful verse and purport. There's a lot to unpack, but I like to concentrate on two very important aspects of the verse. And they very much unify in a causal, that's how you say, that causes, in a causal manner. Krishna instruct Sri Uddhava that, see here in the verse, First of all, to give up about all attachments to family, friends, relatives, like that. The word that he uses is sneham swajana bandhusu. So this attachment or affection, sneha, have to be given up. And by being able to give up this sneha, then that allows one to be able to reach that platform of samadrik, or equal vision. So it's a very important instruction and a very important connection to understand that they're sequential. You cannot achieve this position of equal vision without being fully purified in your affections in this world, your snehas, or the connection, the investment that you have in this material world. You cannot achieve that position. It's not possible. The position of samadrik or samadarshana is in the platform of full spiritual realization. It is described as a Brahma Buddha platform. Then one is able to reach the realization that I'm a spirit soul. I'm a spirit, Brahma Buddha. It's a position of self-realization, and then you're able to be in this, have the capacity to see Krishna in everything and everything in Krishna. So, this purification of sneha and samadrik, in one sense, becomes like a unified vision. And that's what I like to concentrate the class, to break it down, and the applications and the things, how that applies to many of us who are not in the platform of Brahma Buddha, but is aspiring to come there, where many of us are in the process of purification of all this condition, which is here described as sneha, affection towards material relationships. So, we can have this sort of order that we can, from the verse, from the instruction. You purified sneha, you fix your mind in Krishna, you become samadrik, and you engage in the mission properly. You go into the world and, spread Krishna consciousness. Something that we can take from the verse itself, from Krishna's instructions to Uddhava. So, this purification of sneha, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that there's two types of sneha. One he calls the bodily on material sneha, that is just focused on bodily concept of life, bodily relationships. And this type of sneha is centered on my ego identity, my possession, aham mameti, is the center of that. Social structure, emotional dependency, all these things that have to do with a concept of life that is centered on the me. It's a self-centered, egocentric concept of life, approach of life. It's a condition that is there. So, this is mine, and once that is there, naturally, the result of an egocentric relating to the world brings, attractions and rejections of things. These attractions and rejections is one of the kleshas that are there. It's a source of material suffering. It's a source of anxiety. It's a source of comparisons. It's a source of defensiveness. It's a source of partiality, of all kinds of things that afflict the conditioned soul. So as long as false ego is there, having an influence in how we act and how we process the world and how we react, then these things have to be there. So they manifest in different ways, sometimes quite gross, sometimes more subtle, but they do manifest. The other type of sneha that Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is the Krishna Sambandha sneha. That is centered on Krishna. So that is the whole principle of Krishna consciousness is like that. That whatever we do, we see that this belongs to Krishna. It's for Krishna's pleasure. Krishna center. So relationship, everything is in relationship to Krishna. So we relate ourselves as Krishnas. We belong to Krishna. The identity is a service identity. And in one sense, our relationship with the world is that we've been entrusted responsibility. So relationships that we have with family, with friends, is almost like something has been entrusted to you by Krishna. So it's Krishna related. It belongs to Krishna. So when we function with that type of vision, with that type of a structure of our life, then that creates a steadiness, clarity, proper responsibility, and in one sense, freedom from the dictates of our false ego, of the condition. So, we can say it in one sense that the vision that we hold of reality will reflect in the type of sneha that we hold. So sneha will determine how we see. And that's the important thing. That's how it's connected. when we start to see reality from the perspective of Krishna center, then we should be able to advance in seeing Krishna in everything. That's how we elevate ourselves. It's a constant practice. If we find ourselves seeing things from the perspective of my material filters, my background, my culture, my this, my that is more centered on myself, then I won't be able to see Krishna in relationship to things. It's flow, and then we see the results of that is not only detrimental for any one of us who is in that position, but also those who are around us too. They get afflicted by that. So Sneha shapes our vision, and we have to be quite introspective, and we have to be quite careful about it too. That as devotees, we find that our material attraction and snehas manifest in other ways. We may be able to not indulge in sinful acts of illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, and gambling. But that sneha gets diverted to other things, get diverted to position. So we're so much into holding to a position from the perspective of materialistic sneha. And then we can almost share that from that perspective, especially in social media. We can have pictures of ourselves making sure that depict our position. And also being territorial about and being, defensive or sometimes aggressive. So all these things manifest. It manifests in some way. And we have to be very much aware of that. So, puja, lobha, and pratishta. Position, fame, and what is the adoration? Puja, lava, and pratisha. Yes, puja, adoration, position, and fame. Distinction, prestige. It's such a trap, and we have to be so careful about it. It's such a trap, because we're sincerely going with our devotional service. You see, most of the devotees are very special, sincere, unique. And then you go doing your service sincerely, and there's immediately appreciation, not only for Krishna and the spiritual master, but with the community of devotees. And once one got that type of recognition, appreciation, then that's the dangerous part. That's where, we have to traverse carefully, because then that materialistic sneha gets awakened. And then from being a sweet personality that is sincere, you can fall into a trap in which you can be in developing pride and arrogance and ultimately offensive to others, callous to others, like that. So that's something that is there with sneha, materialistic sneha. So, yeah, we can analyze it like that. We can think like this, that how sneha shapes my vision. And we have to be very, very tuned into that. The life of a devotee, of a sadhaka, is a life of introspection, constantly reviewing myself and being very tuned in and open to for receiving messages, not only from within the heart, but also from outside in the community of devotees. You receive messages, Krishna sending messages. So we have to be very tuned in to my biases, my partial visions, not, this samadrik, but actually partial vision. We see through lenses of my body, my people, my group, my interests, my reputation, like that. If we start to see like that, if we start to manage like that, then I have to look. I have to be aware of that. I have to try to think about these things. That's not samadrik. That's not what we're supposed to cultivate. So we have to be very cleverly and focus on understanding not only my biases that are grossly manifested, but also the ones that are subtly manifested. They call what is the word for bias that we're not aware? Implicit biases. We all have it. As long as you have as long as there is a false ego acting, there is implicit biases. And implicit bias, we're not aware. They're just there. They're deep in our consciousness that force us to see things from a particular perspective. And it manifests in rejections and attractions. So we already have that by nature. It's just part of how it's designed. When they're manifest externally, they now become explicit biases. And those are more gross, so you can actually manage them. But we have to go deeper into our implicit biases. So in other words, it's the process of purification. The whole idea is that we have to purify all those snehas, all those bodily conceptions, all those false ego biases. We have to purify them. So, the cultivation of samadrik when we're not in the Brahmabhuta position. That's a very important thing. How we practice samadrik. Practically and sustainable, how we do it. And, understanding the concept of samadrik. First of all, what it does not mean, this samadrik, is not an impersonal thing. It's not you see everything as one. So, it does not mean that everyone is functionally identical. It does not mean that there is no hierarchy. It does not mean that there is no difference. Like that. We have to be careful. Right now, my wife and I have been sort of, through preaching, dealing with some impersonal elements. Like last Saturday, we were in this conference for Vivekananda, celebrating Vivekananda's, appearance or something like that. And there were some swamis that were doing their talks, completely impersonal. Even using bhakti and the Bhagavad Gita, the references like that, but at the end, everything is one, and we are divine, but the divinity that we have is our God. Explicitly say it like that. By Krishna's grace, there was a nice group of people listening to that stuff. And, they're exposed constantly to that in that sort of environment. The yoga environment is completely taken by this conception, impersonal conception. In this case, by Krishna's grace, basically our Srila Prabhupada's movements and the philosophy of Lord Chaitanya took over Vivekananda's. Because at the end, by Krishna's arrangement, not by any effort of us, we got the last word to say ourselves. We did a presentation, and then Gopal Hari Prabhu from Naperville, Professor Gupta, gave the final. And the conclusion of his talk is the last verse of the 6th chapter. Of all yogis, those who are fully devoted to me, they're the highest. That is my opinion. So it's all concluded. Of all karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, all these, the bhakta is the highest. And people were very satisfied. So, is any of that, the samadrik, is that all things belong to Krishna. All are his energies. All are related to him. It's unity without erasing variety. That's Krishna consciousness. There's is the whole concept of Achintya Veda Veda Tattva. In the purport, there was a very, very nice there's a very nice, expression or explanation of this. Say, this equal vision is compatible with mature knowledge of the varieties present within this world. It's nice, no? The mature knowledge of the varieties present within this world. Immature knowledge is when we we either go all diversity or trying to amalgamate everything in one group like that. So mature knowledge means, being able to have perfectly connected this unity and diversity. And it's not easy. Even in the levels, in higher levels in our institution, which is made of brilliant devotees, even in the highest levels of this devotee sangha that we have in our institution, there's problems in trying to embrace this diversity. There's fears, there's the manifestation of these conflicts are there. Diversity becomes a threat. It's a threat. It threatens to make things more difficult and challenging and undermines the status quo. Diversity will do that. Even in those higher levels, what to speak in the levels of, more simple levels, like in the levels that many of us are. Even in those highest levels, there's problems. I don't necessarily want to bring too much focus on this political thing that we have within our movement. But you can understand that some of the arguments about the Vaishnavi gurus that is happening right now in the ISKCON world, that culturally, in parts of the world, specifically in India, is not something that it will create some it will challenge certain status or certain way culturally things work. And, for many people it will be disturbed, like wait a minute, then you have to deal with other things like, not only guru, but I want to be like this, I want to have that, so it's all kinds of things that is going to disrupt the social structure that has been in place as a status quo. You can accept that argument, but what is the problem? India is a place that has how many millions of people? Billions? 7 billion people. Of all those 7 billion people, there's going to be a huge group that will find comfort and that will find that resonate with them. It will fulfill their quest for coming towards Krishna to have that type of diversity there. Yeah. 1.5, more than 1 billion, 1.5 billion. Among all of those, there will be some people that will resonate with a Vaishnavi guru. You can't tell me not. Especially in populated cities, like that, like Mumbai and Delhi. You already see them like that. Women are, asserting themselves different than what is there in the traditional, Indian, social structures. It will resonate. In the same way here in America, one may say, well, this idea of an organization in which we, do it traditionally, and we have women that are not, they will have a much more, their place is as mothers and at home, supporting their husbands like that. And for them, traditionally, you don't give Brahminical initiation, what to speak of being a guru. Their position is mothers. Their position is for home. You may say that here in America or in the West, have no chance. People will revolt. But here in America, there's some people that resonates with that. It's resonating. I mean, Bhakti-Vikash Maharaj, who is one of the most, strong exponents of that traditional way of preaching and organizing society, is having success here in America with a group of people. It resonates. That doesn't mean that it resonates with everybody, but it resonates with a group of people. Diversity is solid. It's the same thing in India. The same thing anywhere in the world. Diversity is there because there's diversity of types of people. So being able to see that way, being able to understand and to approach things like that. So purifying this type of biases is an important thing for us to be able to go to this samadrik thing. So I'm going to finish with this, that in the space that most of us are, that we're not Brahmabhuta, but we're trying to act in a way that is focused, or that is cultivating this equal vision. The solution is given, is implicit in this verse, is implied in this verse, that is basically, you simply focus your mind in my service, Krishna. It's a mission. What Uddhava is receiving is not giving an instruction because he's attached, then, you get rid of attachment and now go into a space. No, Uddhava is already perfect. But Uddhava is being given, actually, you take this pure love and now use this pure love for fulfilling my mission. So in reality, Uddhava now is representing Krishna's mission of taking Krishna consciousness to others. It's a mission. So for us, we can also take that principle. We function, the purpose, the motivation that moves everything we do have to do with a mission. And the mission is something that is given to us by our spiritual master. We're a missionary movement. And that's why we see everything. The mission is to bring Krishna consciousness to the world. I'm going to end with this by reading Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's beautiful, powerful commentary on Bhagavad Gita 241, Vyavasayatmika Buddhi verse. Famously, that Srila Prabhupada says that this verse, meditating on this verse and this purport of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur propelled him to come to America. Quote, "My sadhana is to serve the lotus feet of the Lord, to remember and glorify Him as instructed by my Guru. That is also my goal, sadhya. It is my life-sustaining medicine, for I cannot give up the sadhana and the sadhya. This is my most desirable object, my duty, and nothing else is my duty. Nothing else is desire. Even in dreams, there may be happiness or sorrows. Samsara may be destroyed or may not be destroyed. That is not loss for me. Let there only be resolute intelligence fixed in pure bhakti." So, the service to my spiritual master, to Guru and Krishna, the service to his mission, that's my sole motivation of how I do things, or why I do things. When we're meditating on that mission, and what is the mission that is being given to us? You bring Krishna consciousness to others. You receive it and you share it. And that simple focus, even when we are afflicted by our material conditions and by my particular attractions and affections to material things, I should be able to purify those by the simple engagement on my spiritual master service. Any comments or questions? Jitendra Prabhu. Yes, can you give him the microphone?
That one verse, to those who are resolute in purpose, their aim is one, and their or to those who are resolute in purpose, their aim is one. To those who are irresolute in purpose, their intelligence is many-branched.
Yes.
And then that nirvisesha sunyavadi, the Western world is filled with impersonalism and voidism. Prabhupada said, you are making advancement because I'm giving you the not a hodgepodge thing, I'm giving you, like, for one who knows the truth, he knows there's no greater gain. And then Bhaktisiddhanta was persecuted. They wanted to kill him because he'd go all over. He was the chopping guru, and he would destroy these upasampradayas and these regional, traditional customs that people developed, and then I heard one devotee say, if you water it down so much, it doesn't even resemble its original thing. And he gave the example, next thing you know, they'll be putting tulsi on their chicken, so it never ends. And then I think it was Bhaktisiddhanta said Ramakrishna was a fool, but Vivekananda was a bigger fool for following him. But you can't really say that in Bengal.
Oh, no. You can say that.
So many things that I picked up, and Prabhupada just, leveled the playing field.
Yeah.
As it is.
Yes.
Or did you ever hear the expression, there's my Bhagavad Gita on the shelf as it is. I'm not really touching it, But I don't know, those are a few things that came up, when you're speaking, but there's a whole lot of things that I can't remember immediately, But thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Jitendra Prabhu.
Anybody else?
Krishna, you have something to say?
The point of being self-centered and having affection that extends not only to whatever is important to oneself, but to one's fellow countrymen, to one's nation. That purification through the meditation on Krishna, obviously it must take some time. And I mean, maybe even as the devotee recently was bringing up, like one has to consider the, what would one say, like the group consciousness or the nation one is coming from, and what was some of the ills that one is carrying personally that belong to the whole nation, like, subjugation or suppression of some kind. So then there's a greater need to identify with one's nation, or perhaps rebel against subjugation or an idea of subjugation. So it seems that it's quite an interesting thing that in one lifetime one can actually purify all of that through devotion to Lord Krishna, when generally, you read about things being carried from generation to generation on a subtle level.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's very difficult. Like I find myself, Latin culture is very there's a strong family ties, and friends and things like that, and your own people. I think everybody's like that, but especially Latins are very, very involved with family, and it comes out. It comes out very strongly, and but in one sense, it's not that we become the idea of giving up is giving up the material perspective, that material approach that is all centered around me, but rather is switching it to seeing, as we have these are all people that are Krishna's, spirit souls, and they're in a particular stage, and if we see it as, we're connected to someone. But my purpose, my life has a purpose. My life has a purpose of serving the mission of my spiritual master. So I use my intelligence with respect, with tolerance, with humility, with thoughtfulness on how I can share my Krishna consciousness with someone else that is close to me, with my friends, with my parents, and we can do it in a very conscientious way. That being respectful of people's capacity to receive at a particular time. In a particular moment, maybe just give people prasadam, or just share with people, just being, Srimad Goswami put it, normal. Just act normally, like that. So, yeah, and then it will get purified. You get purified from those things. But it's not, as you say, it's something that is gradual, takes time. But when you come to the position of a pure devotee, it's not that the pure devotee becomes callous and distant, but they're actually quite loving. But they see Krishna, they see everybody is Krishna devotees. The pure devotee have that equal vision. Everybody is a devotee. And they just have to be awakened like that. So, we have some way to go. Grantarashimam Bhagavatam ki jai. Thank you so much.